President Trump's relationship with Utah Senator Mitt Romney has had many ups and downs in recent years. Here's what Romney had to say about then-candidate Trump in 2016.
Will he talk about our policy differences, or will he attack me with every imaginable low-road insult? This may tell you what you need to know about his temperament, his stability, and his suitability to be president. Here's what I know. Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University.
All right. Well, since then, the relationship has been strained at best. At one point, the president considered Romney as his Secretary of State, but things have gotten especially heated of late in response to the Utah senator's criticism of President Trump's dealing with Ukraine. President Trump called for Mitt Romney to be impeached.
Right, which actually can't be done. But Washington Post national
The Constitution, it's tough.
Yes.
You know, tough getting around that Constitution.
Isaac Stanley-Becker is a Washington Post national political reporter and joining us now to talk about this latest thing. So, Isaac, you've suggested that Senator Romney is sort of a quintessential example of what happens to Republicans who criticize the president. You know, throughout the weekend, many of us have been asking why we're not hearing more criticism from members of the president's own party. And here you have Exhibit A with what he did, the way he attacked Mitt Romney over the weekend.
That's right, and House Democrats can move forward with impeachment, but ultimately the president's fate will be decided by the Senate, which is controlled by Republicans. So it really matters to look at the sort of pressure on these members and the sort of messaging that they're receiving from the president and from his devoted supporters.
So, you know, the other question I guess that has to be asked, is this by design? Is the president trying to intimidate, frankly, anyone else who might potentially break ranks? There'll always be some, for example, Ben Sasse and Susan Collins. You've heard them come out with sort of a very, I wouldn't call it a forceful, reaction to what the president has done, is accused of doing. But is this a way to intimidate members of the president's own party that they should not break ranks?
Or is he just lashing out? Is it strategy or not?
Well, that's certainly how it feels to those on the receiving end. So individuals within the Republican Party tell me that they see this as a clear effort at intimidation, at silencing, and at sending a warning sign to those who might be inclined to speak out not to, because this is what may happen. And of course, it's difficult to figure out how much this may sway the minds of voters or not, but it certainly projects influence over a segment of the Republican base that does matter for these lawmakers.
So is it having a chilling effect? I think it's sort of hard to determine, because it's sort of like the same people who are critical of the president are always the same people who are critical of the president, and everyone else tends to be more reserved, let's put it that way. So I don't know if it's working to put the chill on everyone or not.
Well, we'll have to see how this unfolds. It's only been a couple of weeks now, and we saw Mitt Romney speak out in more forceful terms, and then the president's response in turn. Notably, we did not see Republicans, rallying around Senator Romney, at least publicly. So there's at least some indication that some of these tactics are in fact working.
But it's interesting with Senator Romney. He is oftentimes criticized the president, but when it comes to his votes and when it comes to the things that the president needs to accomplish from either a political agenda or a legislative agenda, Romney is in lockstep.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes hard to reconcile what he might tweet. And in fact, it just sort of shows what the power of Twitter is, which is you might tweet something that gets everybody going attaboy, but then when it comes to actually voting and how those votes might affect the American people, he's pretty much in lockstep with all of his other compadres.
Of course, that's a really important point. And, beyond that, there's even the distinction between Senator Romney has come out and criticized the president, but, it's not as though he's come out and called for the president's impeachment or, endorsed the impeachment inquiry begun by House Democrats. So as you point out, there is a large degree of difference between, a couple of tweets, expressing concern and a more active and pronounced, break with the president.
But the thing about this president is that he sort of is equally as passionate with his criticism, whether he's talking about Republicans or Democrats. He's also called for Nancy Pelosi to be impeached. I think Adam Schiff is treasonous. And so he sort of piles on his own party as much as he piles on the Democrats sometimes. So I'm wondering, within the Republican Party, is there a conversation happening about, what to do when the president attacks one of your own, and whether or not this could backfire?
Well, of course, and the president accepts no criticism, whether that's from Democrats or Republicans. And my reporting and the reporting of my colleagues suggests that there is a sort of reckoning within the Republican Party in an effort to figure out what to do. But it's an extremely uncertain and unpredictable situation because there is not a great degree of understanding of how the president will act and operate next. And there's also a fear that any sort of public statements could be undercut by new revelations in this ongoing investigation.
What's more important, Isaac, to Republicans? Is it for the poll numbers to show overall that Americans are in support of an impeachment inquiry? Or is it more important that they start to see a sense from their districts, from some of their states, from people in their constituents, essentially saying that they want to see an impeachment inquiry? Is that enough to change the way that they approach this?
That's a great question, and I think it probably differs member to member. I mean, there is a focus on the local reverberations and reception of this. So of course, Senator Romney is not really in a position of being thrown out in Utah over sort of national criticism of his relationship with President Trump. But there's also a desire to not be out of step with one's party, and on the receiving end of the president's tongue lashing.
It's really fascinating, and it'll be interesting to see what the next couple of moves are. It is, sort of remarkable that the House is in recess over the holiday, over the next week. They were in recess last week, but it doesn't seem, Isaac, as if this is going away, in the sense that now we've got a second whistleblower, and it almost feels as if this is just the tip of the iceberg. There will be others. There will be more information that comes out, and at some point, it becomes very difficult for a member of Congress to say, yeah, but what about Joe Biden and what about Hunter Biden?
That's right. We'll have to see. As you say, Congress is in recess, but they're also, busy and hard at work at this. And they've also said they want to wrap it up quickly. So any new revelations that are going to come out, we may see them, relatively soon.
All right. Isaac Stanley-Becker, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.